Project demonstration for polymorphism. I extended the UI out, moving it and making the form bigger because I imagine it'll grow as I go. But for this, the main thing that changed is that the item class here, I added an additional attribute, private attribute, is scrap, which is it's defaulted to false. And that's because later on you'll see in the program why it's like that. So it's defaulted to false here in the item class, which is the parent class. And so I've also got these two get item info methods that display. These are virtual methods, they're going to be overridden, but this one just writes to the console, puts some information about whatever item's doing it, but it does have a warning method being called outside of subclass. Because technically the way this program works, this should never happen because the add item button gives a warning message and doesn't complete its commands for the function behind it if equipment or consumable is not checked. Now the difference though is you can click equipment and then not click any of these options. So the consumable one is showing right now, which I had to adjust this to. These two are inside a panel now. And the reason is because if you put two, I had both these group boxes in the same space because I wanted, when you clicked equipment, for the box here that has the two radio buttons for equipment to become visible. And then if you clicked consumable, it would make the equipment one invisible and then make this one visible. But when you have them overlapping like that, it sometimes creates issues. So I had to put them in a panel, and then you can bring them to the front or back of that panel. So now it works within the same space. I don't have to separate them. But you can just click equipment and then not click any of the other options, or just click consumable and not click any of the other options. And so when that happens, when it's just an equipment type, an equipment or a consumable, and there's no other details that are given about it, then it's marked as scrap. So in the equipment class, it's once again called from the base constructor, defaulted to a false value. But then here in the constructor, I check if is weapon is false and is armor is false. Then we call the set scrap method, which I had to add in here. Set scrap is scrap. So you don't have to get it. You're just finding out if it is. You're just getting a true or false value. And then if those aren't both false, then you just set it to false. So even if it's already set to false, that's fine. You just do it anyway. A little extra redundancy for effectiveness sake. And then for the get item info overridden methods here, one of them takes a value and the other one doesn't. The normal one that's called will check if the weapon is armor or as a weapon. It'll append those lines. Here it does the same 3 lines with the string builder, the name, the weight, and the cost, but since it takes in the is scrap boolean value, so anytime I call this method now, if I put a boolean value in, if I pass a value in, then I can make sure I'm calling this version, which just adds category scrap at the bottom, indicating that it's not an equipment or, it's not an armor or weapon. The consumable class does the same thing, so instead of food, potion, poison, or bomb, it just puts it as scrap, does the basic thing. So if we pass in a value to this method, then it will, behave differently, which is type of polymorphism. Same name of the method, but just passing in an argument instead of nothing. Here the constructor works the same way as the equipment. The display item button, this got heavily refactored down to just a very, after this part right here, so everything below this used to be like 30 or 40 lines. But now basically it's just the selected item from the list. It checks if it is scrap. So if the is scrap flag is true, then it calls the method with the true value passed in. If it's not, then it just calls the method without any argument being passed in. The other thing that had to change right here, you can see the bring bring to front, and then making these visible or invisible. And yeah, that's it.